Hello, hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Submitted for Your Approval, the weekly card review show where we talk about cards from the collective card game, both ones that got in last week and ones that might get in this week. I am joined, as always, by my faithful co-host, Grief.
Howdy, folks.
And I actually have some special news for you today. We have been discussing things in the background, and we've decided to actually push to have a regular four-person panel. And that'll be me, that'll be Grief, and we will have our EmptyFolder joining us today as a guest, and he will be coming back as a regular panelist in the four-person panel every week after this. So, hello there, EmptyFolder.
Yeah. Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to have you joining us on a regular basis. That'll be really fun.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have a competent person on this three-man show. So.
Yeah, so I did want to get a couple announcements out of the way. These are all in Plasta's announcements on the Reddit if you want to check that out. We got the Start a Game DC going. We'll be talking about that today. We had the unit art contest from Faedus. That's actually underway. It's already in round 2. There's some really cool designs out there, and I'm very interested to see how that's going. So just be sure to check out that. I'll probably link in the description and just see all of the wonderful work that our collective art community has been up to. We also got the Battle for Wanderstar, so that's going to be on the 25th. I'll link again in the description. And we'll see what's going on with that. This meta has been really, really interesting. We have a lot to talk about today about that. And we'll see how it's going to be. So actually, we might lose EmptyFolder to the top 4 again.
Yeah, it may or may not happen. I will
on.
definitely be in that tournament, so I look forward to seeing all the participants there.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought about maybe doing it this time. I'm probably not going to get in the top 4. But there's just, I think, yeah, there's a cash prize. And so, go check that out. So let's get into the week, starting with last week's accepted submissions. I wanted to actually go talk about a Grief card. The Comedian is a 4-drop mine 4/4 nightmare insect fish from Walnut. With when you mill a card, each player discards a card at random, then draws a card. Ouch. That is scary. Like, this elevates mill to a whole new level, doesn't it, Grief?
Well, it's not as funny as it was before, because discarding cards that you just drew were also counted as milling in the past, so that's not happening anymore. If you could even discard cards that you just drew, just out of safety purposes, I flip those effects just for as a necessity if that ever becomes a thing again. But yeah, it is somewhat of an interesting effect. I wanted to explore something new with Walnut, especially with mill. Since the Nightmare Carnival is already known for being basically toolbox self-mill, I just thought, okay, maybe give them more hand disruption-esque effects while also trading it for card draw. In this case, it is a little bit more in line with a fairer orchestra that just does not outright rip your opponent's hand apart. In this case, they at least get a card out of it. Mm-hmm. Sure, they don't have. Sure, no player has control over the cards that they're discarding. But in the end, if you have a deck built around that idea, and I wanted to push Nightmares or more into general grave feeding position when it came to unmill triggers, and I just want to explore more card movement designs, because that's also a thing that people don't really know for the most part. Walnut is just not only, okay, I mill my stuff, but I also want to explore, okay, card drawing, moving cards into play, and so on and so forth. So this is just one step in this direction.
Yeah, because like there's other designs like the Revenant a lot of people don't acknowledge are actually from Walnut, because it's about zone change is one of the main themes.
Yeah.
And then I really like this because it does offer an interesting dose of counterplay in the current, talking about like maybe addressing Marie, being able to really, really fiddle with her graveyard really, really fast has some potential upside on that front. You have any thoughts on this, Em?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting against Maria because, like, you could accidentally give them passive procs because you're milling on their units.
Yeah.
The other thing that kind of makes me think a little bit is it is a fish. So there is some potential to run it in a fish deck because it's making you draw a lot of cards. And then you could also run it in like a Mind Spirit hybrid mill list with Penumbra because it has like the synergistic component where when you're milling cards, your opponent is essentially milling because they're discarding one and drawing one, so it can go through their deck faster.
Yeah. So that's good. Yeah, I think this is a really, really great versatile piece. Really neat addition to Walnut, and that's why I wanted to make sure we talked a little bit about it because it's really cool. Okay, New Horizons from Unguia. Let me sit here and remind myself which version of the card this is. It's a 3-drop neutral action, I guess, with gain 1 max mana and scour 2. Okay, this, I think Chris did like 4 different versions of this, just trying to slap this art on a card somewhere. It finally worked. That makes me happy. And we got a little dinosaur style Lizabo with a horseshoe. And this is mana ramp in neutral, guys. Like, that's fun. I'm excited for this. Scour effects are a little neat. This is from the Simple Card Initiative. They're just trying to get like very simple commons into the game, and that's really cool. What do you think about this EmptyFolder?
Yeah, I'm happy that this got in. We didn't really have any like mana ramp actions in standard. There used to be a lucrative expedition, which was played like a decent amount, but now that is rotated. So I think it's good we have this sort of effect back in the game. And like it has a bit of scour on it too, so maybe you could run it in like dragons or something. I think it's a neat effect.
I was just thinking dragons, yeah. And yeah, that seeing what people can do with a max mana gain in neutral is going to be fun. Grief, you have any other thoughts on it? You picked this one.
I personally like it because it's now second version of an lucrative expedition, which was already in Legacy, which constantly is in neutral and is our only other source of actual ramp in neutral, or in the game in this case. And the Scour 2 is basically, oh yeah, this is a card that basically fits into the standard version that people are trying to build around when it came to dragons and stuff like in that regard. But back to Legacy, Egolis is currently dancing around like an Afro-American grandma during the Sunday service after this card got into the game. Because finally I can do stuff.
So they needed the max mana gain.
Exactly, the max mana gain and the card control, because Egolis isn't really the best when it came to card filtering outside of the Vox shell.
Or
this gives it a little bit more tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is also like fairly good with Vox because like you can ramp into Vox. And previously, like with egolessness decks, Perlma was heavily favored with Vox builds because Perlma has ramp built into her kit, whereas the other classes were just out of luck, and now they have an option.
And so that'll be interesting to see how it kind of diversifies that that side of things. Now, this one is really cool. I'm surprised that this isn't the Grief pick, but yeah. Skeletal Vampire is a 1-drop strength 2/2 undead vampire from Duskmere. With summon, you take 3 damage and this gains life bond. So this is a Faedus art that's been on the sheet for a long, long time. And it finally got in the game as something, and it's really freaking creepy. I like this. This design's really interesting. So tell me about this one, Grief. You're the guy who usually likes the self-damage. I'm surprised you didn't pick this.
Well, the funniest thing is I have a love-hate relationship with this card for multiple reasons. First of all, why is this not a demi-lich? So why is there no Spectre Trap? It's basically a skull, basically a lich skull floating around. Everyone who played Tomb of Horrors knows what I'm referencing here. Yeah, I mean, this card could also have had Life Bond and deal 3 damage to yourself. But maybe this couldn't really work because dealing 3 damage to yourself would heal you as well, because it has Life Bond. That's why probably this effect was jerry-rigged in that regard to give you 2/2 1-drop with Life Bond.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm loving it for the effect that it's more tools for the self-damage deck. Because it's also balancing out your health pool with its Life Bond ability, and it's a good, decent aggro 1-drop. We are missing those quite a lot here and there, especially in red. So, yeah, could be interesting, could be not. Still a little bit on the fence with it.
Well, I mean, the motive for doing this is pretty clear when you look at the creator line and you see this is the same person behind Cortez. So that was what this was, the intention here. And that's pretty good. This could be nice slotted into the Curse Queen build. Definitely getting some more damage early on, getting an early Life-Bound Vampire to stick. What do you think of this, Empty?
Yeah, I'm happy that like now with the Cortez nerf that we can have like these new cool vampires that synergize with her, and everyone's not crying out because she's broken. But yeah, this is like a really neat way of having like this sort of card that fits into these multiple archetypes, where it's like this self-damage and this vampire card, because vampires want to deal damage now, and you can get like 3 attack on your Cortez immediately if you already have her in play, which I think is pretty neat.
The most interesting thing about this card is probably Undead Tribe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's interesting. I don't think that like hardly ever comes up.
Well, actually, I think it's a little problematic for things that want to res undead because it does not have Life Bond natively, like we were talking about. So it's gonna come back, and it's just gonna be a 2/2 at that point, a 2/2 vanilla.
Yeah, I don't even know what card like you would bring it back with. I guess maybe like a really aggressive Penumbra list with Willock.
Or yeah, I don't really know. I think it was probably just Blade Ruler trying to get use out of this out of this art.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the start of game DC. So we have these effects that happen at the start of the game. They're few and far between, and they're kind of exotic. And it was, whose pitch was that for the DC?
Oh, that was Tom.
This is Tom's. Yeah, Tom actually held a vote to see what his DC would be, and this is what we ended up with. So the random generator is a 0-drop neutral wisp from Chromosome, but it's an action. At the start of the game, choose one of 3 random units in your deck. Replace all copies of this card with a random with those stats, costs, tribes, and abilities. And a random is just a Chroma wisp. So this lets you get copies 4 through 6 of a unit and switches its affinity. That is actually pretty nifty. I know it's jank, but I think there are probably decks that run many or not many units, or run just a lot of interesting value units that could get some mileage out of this, because depending on your deck run, you're going to have like 1 or 2 finishers, maybe 3. If you have 3 finishers, you probably want to steer away from this card because you risk it becoming like extra copies of your like high end of your curve stuff. But I think this is actually really cool. And people disagree with me. So, Grief, why does everyone disagree with me?
Probably because it's extremely janky or can be easily broken depending on what you're actually picking. I would play the shit out of it with Performer or Dreamer or whatever. Thing is though, what mileage can we get out of this?
Well, in the Unitless Victric deck, there's probably some tricks you can pull with it. I don't know.
Yeah, like it's really weird.
It's an
Like, this is
interesting
a very
consistency
strange
tool.
effect.
It's a consistency
Like,
tool with the word random in it.
yeah,
The thing is, it's not really consistency tool because it replaces all copies of this with a random with its stats, cost, abilities, and tribe. The thing is, though, if you're not searching anything of those named categories and are going by copies of cards, which I mentioned with stuff like Performer, you're not getting too much value out of it.
I don't know. I think there's probably some kits that could make good use of this. It really depends on what your role is at the very beginning when you're looking at those 3 units, deciding what you want your randoms to be copies of. Whether I agree, it's kind of feast or famine. Like either this is going to give you a lot or this is going to give you nothing. Any other thoughts, Empty?
not really. It's
Sycomancer.
very strange. I'm having trouble thinking of like how this would be used, but my initial thought is that the only time that a deck would really play this is when they want like 6 copies of one card, which seems really dangerous.
Well, I don't know.
That's your 6 copies of Sycomancer in Bullock. This is technically a Bullock card.
Well, because look at like an undead kit. So you could get like this could be 3 extra copies of Sycomancer or Belfry or Unburial Site. Like this could give you.
But you could also just not roll those.
But you'd have to not roll. But if half of your units in your deck are utility cards, one of those is going to come up in the 3.
What is if we're playing this on a self-mill set, in a grave source deck with stuff like, because it counts tribes, Brood, Revenant, and Bird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think this is particularly good for the undead kit. And I think a lot of like Marie builds might just want the extra thing to pitch in the graveyard that has a good summon on it. Because a lot I don't know if that's the Marie build, but I don't know. I think it's hard to evaluate.
It's a weird one.
I think it's hard to evaluate, and that's probably why it's hurting. A lot of these effects are like super hard to balance and super just
Start of game is hard to get right. A lot of other card games have tried and failed.
No. I don't know. Let's move on because I think we're all just puzzled by this one. We got question marks floating above all of our heads like this film.
Yeah.
Bounty Hunter. Now this is the opposite. This is actually doing pretty well, and I'm confused why. At the start of the game, if you have no actions in play, create a copy of this in play. Only works once. So this is trying to reward you from an actionless deck, which aren't like. Are there a lot of builds that are actionless and not going to have any problems with this, or is this around and is it worth it?
Bula can do it semi-proficiently. I actually tested this card with Mystic. He built an actionless Bullock deck, and it was quite good. It's very nice early game for helping you like get off those passive procs really early. Makes Bullock a lot harder to slow down with like early removal. And the main thing you're losing is just a few recursion effects. So it does make your deck a bit weaker on that front, but overall it's probably worth it for Bullock most of the time.
And that's the other thing, if you want to, on your second turn, drop Unburial Site, this is a thing to keep rezzing. So what bugs me about this card is the not actually the meat of the card in here. What bugs me is the stuff like out here. Like, I get it, it's a 1-drop neutral 1/1, but like the art and the effect and the tribe just kind of have a little bit of a dissonance for me. I know that's minor, but it just bugs me. I felt like this could have been a lot of different things, and I don't understand how it all connects. Grafe, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah. By the way, this is actually a pirate art design from Bong.
Yeah, I get the pirate tribe matches the art, but I don't get how the name matches the effect matches the art.
Well, but yeah, the card. I don't really. I picked it because I wanted to talk with you about this card. It's basically what the cases where I could use it. It's a minor benefit. For the hoops that or quote unquote hoops that I have to go through to find a pretty much mostly just spirit list, because other affinities usually rely on certain utility actions anyways, even Heldon does. And he would probably be one of the first heroes who would actually love a free one-drop free unit on the board that he could attack with on the second turn. But why? Even for this minor benefit of basically trying to run as many hyper-aggressive or as you'd actions on a stick cards you can get in your affinity or for your hero, getting a 1/1 out of it that can basically die to anything and will die to anything, because that's just how hostile our meta game is, even on a casual level. This is just sad card for a start of game effect.
Yeah, that's the other thing you got to remember is, like, you have to do that deck building restriction, and then you also have, like, a token sitting in your deck now. You have a 1-drop neutral 1/1.
Yeah.
That's a dead draw.
It would be better if it actually brought itself to play rather than making a copy.
Yeah, or something like that. And just, so the package is weird, the use case is weird. I just personally don't get it. It's doing all right. I'm just going to null vote it.
I can't even play it in Ego. It's a neutral unit.
Yeah.
I cannot play in
Yeah.
Ego this.
Okay,
play
now
as a 1-mana 1/1.
Yeah. I know this was a hot item, a hot ticket item. A lot of people talking about this one, a lot of buzz. Not a lot of votes, though. Shrimpy Mcgee is a 2-drop neutral 2/2 Toon Fish from Karachar with Agile, and the starter game effect is if you only have 2 cards, or if you only have cards that cost 2 or less, draw 2 extra cards, doesn't stack. So this is win fast. Win fast with a lot of cheap stuff. And I know a lot of people have been testing this. A lot of people have been talking about it, or a couple of people have been talking about it on the Discord. I don't get the hype. Empty, maybe you can explain it to me.
I mean, start of game effects really don't need to be that strong to be worth it. And this one is pretty good. Like, getting that much extra value at the start of the game really helps aggro decks not run out of fuel. The only difficulty, obviously, is making a deck where everything costs 2 or less. I don't really know what affinities can get away with doing that. Like, maybe Mind, maybe Bula, but I don't really know what those lists would look like. I think this is, like, probably about the right power level for a start of game effect, because it's not that big of a reward, and the deck building restriction is pretty tight. I just sort of like the idea behind this design.
Grief is smiling at us. I want to know what Grief is smiling about.
I just hear the wailing from my Vintage and Legacy friends, who basically want to quit Magic because of Luris.
Yeah, basically, right?
The list that could actually run this card is the KM list, because she has in the first 4 turns no affinity penalties. That means she gets, besides scouting cards, also 2 extra cards in her starting hand.
Yeah.
Meaning she can draw more easily into stuff like Pilgrimage, into helping hand, etc. To try to build a tempo or / aggro deck that is probably quite possible in KM already. This just helps it out in consistency. This is also even funny enough playable in Eagles if we ever manage to get enough neutral cards for that cost range. Because both effects would work side by side, which would help out our deck as well, since I already mentioned that card draw is one of its weaknesses. since it lost Negotiate. Then again, this isn't even for an aggro deck that could probably an item mind or an Foreheldem in strength allows you to for your since we already lost draft or scout, how it's called now, to have a little bit more of a starting tools, because a mulligan with 4 to 5 cards in the deck is still not good enough to allow us to play with a 4-card starting hand. And if you brick on your hand in an aggro deck, even if you have your first 3 turns, you're not getting more resources out of it. Strength is not really set up to do so without trading resources with your opponent as well. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
I like it. Triggers fish cards.
I definitely like the flavor package around it, and I like how it connects. But this effect is really interesting, and it'd be interesting to see how people do this. I'm going to throw this one an upvote. It's an interesting build around, and I like that.
Wie bitte, Oma? Ja, Oma? Natürlich.
Now we're going to leave the world of the DC and go to the bulk of the cards. Grief's going to step away for a bit. Overflowing Thoughts. Overflowing Thoughts is a 2-drop spirit action from Degenesis. With both players draw 3 cards, then mill cards equal to the amount of cards in their hand. This is yikes. This is like, I love this. I want this. Lunatic, by the way, you did amazing on the arts. I actually think he's going to release a speed paint of this soon, or like a time-lapse thing. This just really interests me because this is a great tool for mill. It's in spirit, and this also has that, like, we have it would be a negotiate effect in spirit. Besides that, this has a lot of interesting potential for, like, Marie, both giving her stuff to pitch and stuff in her graveyard. And yeah, this is great self-mill or enemy mill. It's just really, really versatile, and I like that about it. Grief, you want to start on this one?
I appreciate a second, a 4th to 6th copy of Nightmare Carnival for a mill deck. So it helps basically all kinds of self-mill or opponent's mill, or even Dralog strategies out that you want to either build purely with spirit or as a penumbra deck. So I don't really see any fault in it. The first version was more mill heavy without a card draw, but this one, I'll just wait and see until people will start complaining again about this kind of effect, because funny enough, Nightmare Carnival was quite similar to what this is currently.
Empty,
Yeah,
your thoughts on it?
Yeah, to me this feels like Super Nightmare Carnival. Like, it does everything Nightmare Carnival does, and almost always better, because if they have like any cards in their hand at all, you're going to be milling more than Nightmare Carnival, and you're going to be drawing more than Nightmare Carnival too. So plus it's in spirit, which is like more the enemy mill color than mine, so it fits really well into that list. I don't know, it seems extremely strong, especially against any control list that's going to have a lot of cards in their hand. Like, you could easily get 10 or more cards milled off this for 2 mana.
Yeah, and if you want to run it off Affinity or run it Penumbra, or not Penumbra, yeah, Penumbra, then with the Comedian in particular that just got in this week, that is a 2 or 3 drop card that's just going to, like, shuffle everyone's hand around. So, like, control lists can forget about their whatever game plan they have at the moment. They're going to have to really think on their feet to pick up after that 2-hit combo.
Yeah, and then the other one is Illum Carnival. Like, you drop this, or you drop Illum Carnival on 3, and then next turn you drop one of these, and your opponent mills like 10 cards. You get 10 1/1s.
So yeah, I think this is good. I am sad because this will hit my similar spot to my beloved Consult, but my Consult does have recursion, Consult to Beyond, and just as a Marie procer. But yeah, I think this has a lot of other use cases, and Consult has its own unique niche, though. Okay.
I have no doubt that this will see a lot of play if it gets in.
Definitely, it will
Definitely.
definitely.
I think it's really good. I hope it gets in. Okay. Now I talked to Squawk about this. I learned my I learned the how to say this.
Pronunciation?
Big is a 2-drop mind equipment from Avareg. I don't know if I said that one right, by the way. Giving unit +1/+1, it deals 1 damage to another unit. I am so excited about this, guys. It is a 1-drop combo piece, equipment, in mind. This is like everything I want out of a card. I want every color to have, or every affinity to have access to equipments. This helps there. I want combos off of my deadly pingers. This helps there. I want Soul Capture Cam to do some extra stuff. This helps there. This is just really, really great. Gives you some great mileage for Brick Trick with his Sedan Ghoul, which Sedan Ghoul used to be actually a bigger deal when there were more cards to like support him, and now this is another one. I don't know. I'm excited about it. I hope this gets in. Everyone go upvote this. Empty. You go.
Yeah. So my only hesitation with this card is that it's another like Pancat-like effect, but it has so many interesting use cases that I'm kind of okay with it. Like the thing that like immediately sprung to my mind is like, oh, that's kind of neat, is that if your opponent has a deadly unit, you can cast this on that and use it as a removal spell. Like, sure, you're giving them +1/+1, but you can kill any of their stuff with it. It is really neat for 1 mana.
I love that. I didn't even think of that.
And then there's like a lot of like neat little synergies you can do with the Dune Walkers. Like there's the Blade Weaver, where when it deals damage to something, deals 1 damage 3 times. This works with that. Like there's a lot of really neat little tricks you can do with it. And the base level is good enough that even if you don't get to do those tricks, like you're still not feeling bad about running this.
Yeah. How does Merrick read? Would this proc Merrick?
Merrick is only to players.
Yep.
Oh, this only deals damage to a... Oh, yeah, this can't hit face.
Yeah.
Man, that
if it could hit face, it would be great with Merrick.
Yeah. But Soul Cap... this helps really corner case stuff like Soul Capture Cam, but basic stuff like Sedan. I don't know. I want to see Mind do more equipment. I think this is a great direction. I did talk to Squawk also about the art. This is the axe head, and this is the handle. Just so y'all know, I wanted to share that with you because we talked about the art there. Grief, go.
It's extremely versatile for what it can do. Thing is, though, do we really want another card like Empty said, another Pancat 1 HP hate card in the game?
Yeah.
Regardless of how fun it could be. Because let's be honest, the community currently is pretty much up in arms with anything that can be actually threatening 1 HP thresholds, even though all of our 1 HP units have been pretty damn bad since forever. But besides the viable 10%. And this will just get hit or be a point of discussions the moment it gets into the game.
Yeah.
Until it gets nerfed to stone, matching its art.
I would rather have honestly, I would rather have this than Pancat. This has so many like versatile like use cases, and it's really interesting. I like Pancat. Obviously, a lot of people don't like Pancat, but
I like Pancat as well. So yeah, keeps most stuff in check that should be either shouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm. And this does require another unit. Like this doesn't have that other unit for the layup. So okay, moving on. Chrosyian Mage is a 2-drop neutral 3/2 robot from Chronostasis. Fast and active exhausty unit. My biggest complaint My biggest complaint with this card. Grief, you want to take a guess what my biggest complaint with this card is?
It's probably something flavor related.
No, it's a logistics issue this time. It's a new realm and it starts with a C. We have too many of those.
Chrosyian,
Our chromosome. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna mix some people up. This needs to be like a K or something. Mage, what does it do? So this is our Bolus Peacock from last week, but different and maybe a little bit better. I don't know why the fast is weird because it doesn't enter play ready, so I don't know what the fast contributes to it.
Yeah, I actually know what the fast is for.
Okay,
so Chronostasis was one of the realms that was submitted for the realm design competition.
Yeah.
And what Super Sun, like their design goal for the realm, is they wanted almost all the units to have active and fast so that you can mess around with the initiative in order to do outplays for your opponent. The idea was that you could delay playing anything for a really long time by using these actives on all your units and then like dump your whole hand at once because that all is fast.
Well, that's a neat idea.
So sort of like tempo, like
yeah,
messing with the initiative type stuff. And that sounds cool. I definitely think we need this effect in the game. I'm glad it doesn't have a cost. We talked about that last week. And by the way, Super Sun blew it out of the water with the art. I really like this fella here. And his style and his no face but glowing eyes. This is probably the best art Super Sun's done for the game, in my opinion. I don't know. You have any other thoughts on this, Empty?
Nope.
What about you, Grief?
Not really. No, it's
what we said about Bolus Peacock basically last week. And that's why I'm excited for it. I hope this does well. I'm going to upvote that. Okay, so we're going to get into Grief's picks with Firefly. It's a fire and a fly. No. Firefly is a 1-drop strength 1/1 elemental insect from Seal of Elementary with flying and entomb create a flame. Flame, as you all know, is just a 1/1 elemental thingy. Q, Azra's did great with the art this time. This is some of Azra's better stuff. Why did you pick this one, Grief?
Because it's a 1-drop 1/1, so 1 HP that actually isn't really terrible. Because even if it gets hit by a Pancat or other stuff, that basically kills anything that else has one as an HP pool. This leaves a body behind. Why aren't we having more of those? And why don't we have more of those at our disposal? Even better, this is a strict upgrade towards this hilarious update that we got this week to one of the tokens of an insect that I think is a 1/1 flyer that we'll never see play.
Well, first of all, that our ability to update things into something. It is a neutral flyer, though, isn't it?
It is a neutral flyer that still will never see play.
I don't even know if you'd play that card in Egolistus.
Okay.
This card is good. It's a 1/1 flyer that even if it dies, you get a 1/1 token out of it, which has so much synergy already in the card collection that this can get away with it.
Now it's interesting because a lot of strengths goodies go where the big attention is with Pearlmaw. Because Pearlmaw's so flexible. Pearlmaw has the ramp kit. This is great for Heldim in particular, because this gives Heldim an early attacker. This gives Heldim a great thing to start slapping some equipment on if we want to bring back the Heldim equipment build. I would love to slap some fake fangs on this, and I think that's really cool. And I like, for a simple design, I like it, and it's reasonably flexible. Grief, do you have anything else to say about it, or are we going to...
Nope.
Empty, what do you have to say about it?
Not too much. It's just like a simple card. I like what Grief said, that it's like a 1-drop that's not like super vulnerable to these ping effects. I think that's a good design.
So yeah, hats off to Asdraz. Go upvote that thing. That has a spot in my Healthy Equipment build, definitely. Okie dokie then, Sky Totem. Beautiful art on this one, by the way.
Oh, the artist is so good. Oh,
Oh!
this was removed then, I guess.
Let's see if there's a repost, guys. There we go. Is this a repost? Does that look right?
Probably with the fixed blocks, maybe in the no, it's a new ability.
Oh.
It's a completely new ability.
Yeah, and that... So if you actually read this ability, I went ahead and read it. I have no idea how it even works. So this is Frank Casco. I haven't seen it before. This art is like super beautiful. But I don't even know how that bit works. So let's talk about it real quick, just this version. Sky Totem is a 1-drop, mind-exclusive 0/1 totem from nowhere in particular. With can't attack, can't block, flying units gains +1/+1, it costs 1 less. And then sacrifice a flying unit, prevent all damage done to it. I don't even know what that last bit means.
I don't know what the last bit could mean either.
And it's not even kerned right, or the that should be on a separate line. So that makes it even more confusing.
This is definitely. This feels like a magic card, magic player trying to design a card for collective. This is not, but this isn't. This isn't meant as a bad criticism, but you really can read that there wasn't really much time spent in the Discord when trying to rebuild this effect.
Yeah. And the it here, the actual templating on this is off.
Yeah.
Now, so let's just evaluate this without that line that we can't understand. That's actually a cool card. This the just that bit up there with the flying units get +1/+1 and cost 1 less. So this should be an object, but this reminds me of what's it called?
Flying Armory in red.
It reduces the cost of all flyers by 1. It probably should be a little bit higher cost for that, and I don't even know why that exclusive is there, but that would give you a lot of cool stuff with your cheap flyers and open up a really awesome aggro build. Currently, flying does not have a lot of support. And this could be really, really neat. Sans whatever that last thing is. Grief, do you have anything about it? This version?
Let Empty start.
Let Empty start. Okay.
Yeah, a Mind Flyer stack could be pretty neat. I really like the art for one thing. I think whoever this player is, they just need to like go to the Discord, ask some people, figure out what that second ability is, if anything, or just scrap that part of it and make it like this just flying support totem sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think this could be a really good design if it was just given a bit more time to, work through in a couple of reiterations.
Yeah.
Yeah. As Empty said, scratch the sacrifice idea, put one more HP on that thing and make it an uncommon. Or common.
I do think it also needs a little bit more cost because that's a pretty...
Not really, because this thing can't attack nor block.
Yeah.
With 1 HP, it is far too easily removed. At 2 HP, it makes far more sense. But if we're keeping it at exclusive, this would mean if you want to gain the benefits out of most of Sprint's fire pool, you have to run Penumbra.
Yeah. Well, the other thing...
But this allows you also to splash cards from before you actually play Penumbra. So this is good. So you need this really cheap body for this.
The thing about that, though, is with that corpse... This actually makes the Corpse Wasp drone really good, right? because this is
Yes.
one drop, and then you throw down every corpse wasp in your hand, and they're free 2/2s. So that was kind of my case for maybe bumping the cost up to 2 and giving it some more HP to compensate.
At that point, you still have to find this card and have your corpse wasps in hand. So yeah.
The interesting thing is that it's a symmetrical effect.
Mhm.
If your opponent's running flyers, they can benefit off this thing too. Makes if this gets in, like a mirror match between those decks very interesting.
Mhm.
That would be some fun counterplay. I agree.
Performer can finally be good again.
Yeah. Let's go over to the Necrod Vessel. This is a Unguia thing, I think.
Yes.
Is their word. Necrod Vessel is a 3-drop spirit 3/4 undead dinosaur from Unguia with can't block rebound. Ooh, that's actually interesting. I like the flavor text on this guy. Grief, why did you pick this?
I like the card. I hate the templating. And I think Empty understands why when I point out the attack and the HP value.
Yeah. This is not aggro stats.
No.
This is an aggro unit that has defensive stat lines. Why? This thing can't even block. Why does it have more HP than attack?
Yeah, I mean, you could just easily throw this on, like, you know what? Drop its HP to 1 and give it agile or something.
Honestly, if you just flip the stats, it would be fine.
Or just flip
Exactly.
it, yeah.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be, like, groundbreaking, but it is kind of a messy in that respect.
It already has rebound. Why does it need more HP?
I would be interested in seeing it with maybe agile, but I don't know. Any other thoughts, Empty?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you go first next time.
It's an undead. Woohoo.
It's it's simple, but it's a little messy. Now, this is one of those things where I talk about like the art sheet and how I'm glad to see this get something on the art sheet. And I know Shadows was really excited for this. So the Sweets Dragon is a 3-drop strength 2/2 Toon Food Dragon from Karachar with flying and feed +1/+1 for each food in your graveyard. Upvoting that. This is a finisher for food. I like that. Something really, I mean, if you have a bunch of super cheap foods in your graveyard or you're comboing off with a bunch of Hope's Hollow stuff, whatever Hope's Hollow stuff we get in the future, because I know Davenport said that due to some concerns about the direction of the game, they're going to quit making cards for a while. I know a lot of people, or I know I personally am planning on stepping in and doing some Hope's Hollow designs. And there's still a couple out there that might get resubbed. And besides that, we already do have some interesting options for food with flips. I'm glad to see, something that works well with flips. And it's just a neat little, like, even without that feed effect, it's still a flyer, and it's almost on par. And I don't know, this could be really interesting. Empty, you go first this time.
Yeah, I really like this because it's a legitimate finisher for food decks. Like before, the only like big payoff was Devour of Food, and that card just isn't great. Like it only gets 1 keyword for every food, which is like something, but it's not that much. Mm-hmm. This is like a big payoff. Like if you have 3 food in your discard and play like a couple units and they all get +3/+3, like that's a big board swing. So I really like the idea of food decks having like this big payoff finisher card. That's like a reward for playing all these food cards. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if this can make food into a dedicated deck. I think it was interesting as a choice for strength. Food's kind of all over the place affinity-wise, which is where it belongs. But that is an interesting choice, and I just wanted to point that out. Grief, what's your thoughts on this one?
It's in a weird spot because, as you already mentioned, it's in strength, and strength is pretty much known for having probably the least food-centric cards that are playable in any shape or form. I mean, blood pudding got just updated, so maybe that helps. Is penumbra food a thing? Spirit and strength penumbra food, where you can play broccoli knights because those are food units. So if we're getting now spitballing here ideas, a food unit, food matters deck with the with stuff like sweets, broccoli, probably the entire Hope's Hollow support, and so on and so forth. I probably have to ask Shadow because of that idea, because he's all over this food archetype.
Yeah. So
Well,
that'll
the
be
other
really
thing, in strength, blood pudding just received a buff.
yeah. That's what Grief was talking about.
Yeah, and I could also see this as a pretty natural fit in can lists with the broccoli knight.
Can we do food vampires now? Splat, blood pudding and Hope's Hollow and fake fangs and make this a
I mean, you missed the opportunity to make fake fangs those jelly, those candy fangs. So you could have made another red food, but you didn't. You wanted to make it a curio. It's your fault.
Yeah. Okie dokie then.
Oh.
The Dayling Warrior, and don't look at the blocking, it's for your own good. Dayling Warrior is a 4-drop spirit 3/7 Dayling from Swiatlo with adjacent units gain the ability where they cannot die to damage and instantly heal any damage. And when one takes damage, this takes that much damage as well. And copies of this are excluded. So yeah, I can see why that blocking's a nightmare. By the way, the artist here is Super Sun. If you know art style, you should have been very suspicious seeing Pawapka in the art line there. This is cool. This is playing more into their adjacent stuff. Who picked this one? Whose pick was this?
That was me.
Okay, so I'll let you talk first on this one. But yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a very neat effect. Invincible is something that's kind of interesting as a keyword. I don't really think it should be an official keyword, entirely because we have a bunch of cards that give random keywords to things, and getting invincible would be pretty problematic. Like Immortal, you used to be able to get that off of random keyword generators, and that was a big problem. But I really like this like weird design, and it's super flavorful, like having this unit that shields the units next to it and takes damage for them.
And they have this theme with RPG classes as their titles, and I think that's a neat way to continue it. Art's really good from Super as always. Grief, what are your thoughts on this?
As someone who's still working on the readjustment of wording, I'll eternally scream when I saw Gain Invincible, because it's still not a keyword. Please don't make stuff keywords now. Give them the reminder text as normal card text first. If there's more stuff like that in the game, sure, we can think about making it a keyword, but don't plaster your text boxes forward. Unnecessary.
And I don't know, for those of you, for my viewers who follow the Discord, if you actually look on the feature requests, I've been feature requesting a lot of stuff about what are we going to do about keyword development post text crunch, because it hurts. You're right. It's difficult. It's painful. And I didn't even say the word invincible when I read off this card text, because what it does is it gives you that. And this should not be keyworded. I agree.
Because drop the brackets and drop Gain Invincible, and you have a perfectly fine card text here.
Yeah. What do you think of the actual effect, though?
It's intriguing. Thing is, though, is this too good to be dropped? I know that I'm always on the fence when it comes to adjacent abilities, because we are in the position of playing a card game where you cannot manipulate the position of your own units in any shape or form outside of stuff dying or you playing it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little bit more uncontrollable, especially when it is the last or in the last or in the first position of your board. Therefore, only one unit gains the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, this thing is pretty damn tanky.
Yeah.
So it's in the spirit. It's already in spirit. So getting regenerate or any kind of other heal effects or HP buffs on this dude is pretty damn easy, especially since it can even keep your beat monitor more alive.
My jank combo of the day is I would have to look at that awful blocking apparently, but you can also massive many a single unit. So if you have 2 copies of this and you massive many with the one on one side, it's no longer going to exclude the copy, I think. Because it's no longer Dayling Warrior, it's called Mutant.
Well, okay, the reason it's excluded is because if you put the 2 of these next to each other, the damage is going to bounce back and forth. So I think it would just bounce until it hits the roll of 13, and then one of them would take the damage.
Yeah, that's the case.
But they both have Invincible. They can't.
Yeah, no, it's a trigger. That means
It's
Oh.
definitely a damage trigger. That's how it's probably blocked.
It's not a while loop which can actually get around the rule of 13. That's one of the few cases that is possible to be designed. But thank God, besides a few people who are actually trying to exploit stuff like that in the card creator, we haven't found any card interaction that can actually get around that. So yeah, no mess of many man shenanigans for you.
Okay, now to the last card, which does not really. I'm going to open this big because it's got a lot of text on it.
Text crunch hit you hard, didn't it?
I found a way around it, guys. I found a way around it. Turns out it doesn't work if you put a bunch on tokens. The Sleuth Sedan is a 3-drop neutral 0/3 vehicle from Chrosyian, can attack. On summon, it creates and shuffles the entire Sleuth squad into your deck. And as an active, you can draw Sleuth. Frank, the leader, is a 3/2 with +1/+1 and Exemplar if you control another Sleuth squad. Amy, the brains, has as a 2/2 with active, draw a card, then discard a card if you don't control another Sleuth squad. Lisa, the charmer, is a 2/3 with before combat, give an enemy -2 attack or -4 attack if you have another Sleuth squad. And Chester, the cat, is a 1/3 with entomb. If you control another Sleuth squad, return this to play. And we have one of each affinity. So this is obviously the most direct reference that it kind of started as was being like an indirect Scooby-Doo reference. I ended up kind of making this a composite of all of the classic mystery fiction of yesteryear. So you see elements of like Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys and stuff like that. I'm interested to know why you picked this, besides the art that goes with it is beautiful. Empty.
Before you say it, Empty, can I have a guess? Can I guess why you picked it?
Sure, you can guess.
Could it be that you had so much fun with Dan that you basically got Stockholm, and when you saw that card, you basically wanted another version of it in the game?
No, okay. The reason I picked this is because I feel this is what Flips should have been. Because I think this is a much more balanced version of Flips. Because it's not like a must-remove card like Flips is. The thing with Flips, if you get 2 triggers off, you can loop Pancat and just win. Whereas this, if you get 2 triggers off, like sure, there's a pretty good advantage to like having 2 of these things on the board, but you're not just going to win the game and end the game right there.
Yeah.
Whereas with flips, like, your opponent just can't let you get any flips triggers at all off. And the other thing is that if this gets removed, like, right away, a lot of these cards are not very good if you just draw them on their own.
Mhm.
Like Frank is just a 3/2, the Cath is just a 1/3, and they don't really do anything on their own.
Yeah. The whole gimmick of them being reliant on the other guys to get going was,
Yeah.
I think, a really interesting design space. I mean, toot my own horn here, but
You do really like the places with actives.
I really like. You'll realize that this has elements of both flips and dance.
Exactly, and
That it's a team of 4. It's a team of 4. It was originally a team of 5, but that was a bit too much. And I wanted to differentiate it from the mystery gang. I wanted to make this its own unique thing. So I changed the balance up a little bit. But yeah, this has so I incorporated more elements of, you know, the other Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, kind of all of the mystery solvers. And it's funny because they're in Chrosyian, where, you know, there's actual, like, horrific monsters around. So they're solving some really, I don't know.
So we're getting a kaiju equipment next, you're telling me? A crossover between Gamburu and your fake fangs, or what?
We need that. I don't know. What do you think of this, Grief? I should probably quit.
I've played too much with Dan and Flips to be impartial about it.
You helped me design Dan.
Yes, I did. I did. That's why I am pretty amused to see their home base squad as a place design, sorry, as a vehicle design. I mean, it's pretty much interesting. You can probably find some really good casual fan out of it. Is this competitive enough to have a place or find a place in the current environment or in the future? I don't think so. It may be too slow.
Yeah, and it definitely is, but and it also depends on what order they come out in, because it's random. But if you can get some out, you do get some good potential goodies. You get Frank if you have Frank with a squad mate, then you get plus you get a 4/3 exemplar, which is pretty cool. That can help a lot, in particular in KM, which is one of the things I had in mind while designing this card. Because if you look at this for KM, Frank generates EXP, Amy generates card advantage, Lisa neutralizes threats, and Chester helps protect your face from combat. So that's kind of what if you're wondering what on earth these 4 abilities had to do with each other, that's the thought.
I mean, you can probably also try it out in Marie with a place. You get another playset and you get another copy of each of those squaddies and draw one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit more worth it.
Yeah.
But then you have to consider affinity penalties. I said it may be too slow.
It's definitely a casual build. I think we need to have a couple casual cards in the game every now and again. And I think I'm very, very glad to see the support this one got. And it does a lot for me, but I don't know. I think this could be real fun from just Jank and Coliseum, trying to get the whole squad out to go solve mysteries together. So we'll see. It's doing pretty good. We don't know how it's doing in-game. In-game's been more and more chaotic.
Let's not talk about in-game voting.
Yeah, let's not. For everyone's sanity. So that's it for this week. It was really great having you guys over. Thanks as always to Grief. That was good. And
nothing much.
Empty, and I am happy to welcome you on as my extra panelist. Be sure to check out links in the description for the things I talked about earlier, the unit art contest, the tournament for Wanderstar, other related stuff. Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you next week.
Keep playing collective and exercise your democratic process.